Real quickly before we jump into it, Code Espresso is now on a flash sale of 30% off over at gfuel.com. So if you guys want to check it out, try a new flavor for the first time, restock, or just want to get the gist of it, Code Espresso gets you 30% off your entire order. So check it out. It's day 2 of the early access beta for Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and I'm sure there's a lot of feelings now being thrown around. I'm going to personally withhold anything that I'm really thinking about. I think I'm going to do a weekend 1 recap on feelings and all that kind of stuff, because I do have quite a bit to say and quite a bit that does feel different compared to our reveal event experience we had out there. But again, that's a story for another day. Today, I want to talk to you guys, though, about some things that were adjusted, some things that were introduced, and some feedback on something that some players feel strongly one way or the other about. Today, we're going to break down some talk of the minimap, some rank increases, the new modes introduced, and also the new map introduced within Modern Warfare's beta. So let's jump into it. So the discussion at hand, you can follow along with, I'll leave the link down there in the description below. It comes from the official Modern Warfare subreddit, in which the thread is entitled Day 2 of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare Early Access Beta, PlayStation 4 exclusive. They, of course, ended up starting out by talking about the parameters of the beta and the Weekend 1 and Weekend 2, when it goes open, that being tomorrow, and then recapping the kind of stuff that we have in-game right now. They end up talking a little bit about some of the feedback they're looking into, such as the partying up matchmaking issue, in which whenever you end up completing a match in a party, it sometimes won't find you, or actually I shouldn't say sometimes, it more often than not doesn't find you a match whenever you try and jump back into another one right after. You have to then disband your party and then join back up on your friends to just jump back in. Becomes very tedious, something that of course isn't anything terrible, but is just an inconvenience. They say they're looking into footstep audio and teammate footstep audio as well. They say they're looking into some issues such as a clipping issue where players can clip into a table on raid, and other things in a general perspective, like just the topic of spawns, that being that they're not the most ideal right now, and they're being looked at in the current spawn system on the end of Infinity Ward. Along with this, though, they also ended up talking about a little bit of the update itself for what happened today. As of yesterday, we had a little bit less to play around with in the beta, and today's update added in a brand new game mode as well as a brand new map that we can end up playing around with here in the playlist selections. And actually, the new mode is the main featured playlist outside of that little quick selection that you have that just is the combination of everything we have on offer. The new mode, Cyber Attack, is a new little twist on S&D, Search and Destroy, and is something we've talked about since the reveal event because that was the first time we got to play around with it. Personally, I'm actually a really big fan of how this ends up playing out. It is a different sort of engagement than compared to what you'd end up expecting with Search and Destroy, because there's not necessarily respawns, but there are revives. So it ends up bringing out this extendable version of S&D, in which it's still the same tactical nature of Search and Destroy, where you have to be conscious of no respawns and you have to be conscious of almost everywhere on the map. But the nice part is that it creates a different variation of that, where you start to worry, man, I could clutch this up, but I could also end up getting my teammates up to give us the man advantage back. We're equalizing the numbers. And so that little cat and mouse gameplay you experience with Search and Destroy is amplified a little bit more in a subtle variation. It's a lot of fun to play around with, and I definitely recommend jumping on here and trying it out. The differences here, though, between Search and Destroy traditionally and this Cyber Attack mode are a couple of different things. Firstly, the score limit is 5 with this. You end up having the bomb actually placed in the very middle of the map, very similar to Sabotage, as we've seen previously in the Call of Duty franchise. And then also you end up having very quick plant and defuse times here with this. It's about 1 second, maybe a half second. I can't really say that I calculated it out entirely, but it's not that 6.5 or 7.5 second defuse times and plant times that we've seen beforehand. So in that sense, it's a lot more get in, get out. And I'm curious to see just how many ninja defuses you'll end up seeing with this. The one thing, though, also expanding on that is that if you end up defusing it, it doesn't end the round and win it for your team. You end up playing until either everybody is taking out on the other enemy team or the bomb explodes. That EMP goes off and destroys the target you are trying to plant on it. If you end up defusing it, it will drop the bomb at your feet or pick it up here for you, and then you have to then go take it over to the other side of the map where you're trying to plant it. So it's a different variation of Search and Destroy, but at the very core, it plays similarly, and for Search and Destroy players, it'll be something you can jump into with relative ease and not really have to get too acclimated to a different change of pace. The other new aspect added in is the map that probably in the B-roll footage you'll be seeing me play on in Cyber Attack, that being the brand new map Gunrunner, an industrial complex seemingly situated in the Eastern European mountainous regions. This one, from having played it at the reveal event and now just a little bit today, I think I'm still trying to figure it out entirely how I feel about it, but if you're playing with a good team, it'll be one that you really enjoy. If you're not playing with a great team and you're just not having the best time on at the moment, you might have some tough times with it, but it offers a few power positions that really do control the map entirely. There's going to be some overlooks you end up seeing with concrete barriers. There's going to be some head glitches around the B flag and some very interesting jump spots you can get to that make for some interesting engagements, but ultimately it's one that I'm at the moment welcoming because it's something brand new. I ended up playing so much yesterday that I don't want to say I got necessarily burnt out, but I was yearning for something more. So I'm happy to see that we ended up getting this map here. And again, I'm still trying to figure it out, like I said. So jump on, try it out. You'll have a decent chance of getting into a match on this map, so you shouldn't have too much time experiencing it rather quickly. But perhaps the one thing that stands out to me the most here on this is the discussion that happens in this thread on the minimap. They say, okay, let's talk about the minimap. We hear you loud and clear. Along with your feedback and the data we're continuously collecting, we'll be experimenting internally with a few different options and we'll keep you updated if we make any changes that you might see during the beta. This is an ongoing conversation with all of you, so again, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this topic, and we'll update you again when we have more information to share. Now, initial thoughts and personal feedback aside here from this, we'll talk about that in a second because I do know there is a very strong presence one way and the other for this, but talking about the general statement as a whole, trying to decipher this, it seems like right now we might see some sort of change that adds in maybe a minimap, maybe a compromise between what we have now and a minimap, which we don't know how that would look, but right now, to me, it doesn't seem like there's going to be anything added in this weekend. Just the way this is worded, I don't think that I would really anticipate anything coming within, say, tomorrow, Sunday, or even Monday morning. I'm all for being wrong on that. I'd be cool if they add something like that to see how it works out, but right now, based off of this, it seems like they're still working around with it, and it's not something that they entirely have set in stone to happen this weekend. Maybe next weekend, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Now, in terms of whether or not I think this is something that should happen, I'm kind of leaning towards the perspective of, yes, I'd like to see something implemented. The problem here at this that I think personally this creates, and as always, it's totally cool if you guys have differing opinions, I just personally think that right now, the lack of a minimap creates a much more slower playstyle here for this, which in and of itself isn't anything inherently bad, but it is something that I think promotes a little bit more of a camping mentality. Players don't know necessarily where the enemy is going to be coming from, and so in that regard, they're more likely to sit back and put themselves into a corner where they can only cover one line of engagement. So that means if you're running by it, well, you're kind of caught in that crossfire. And the way the level design is right now, there are many open avenues where if you're in the open, you can, in no exaggeration, get taken out from 9, 10, 11, 12 different areas. And that just makes it almost impossible, which again, just then promotes an even slower perspective of not moving so much. Personally, I don't think it's the end of the world if it doesn't happen and it's not added in. It will be a very drastic shift in terms of how players will have to approach the gameplay. But personally, I would like to see it added in so that I can at least gauge both ends of the spectrum here so that I can see which is better, with or without some sort of minimap or just the minimap entirely. I know that personally, I literally look at the minimap probably half the time that I'm playing just to get a sense of where that map flow will go and how to predict those engagements a little further. Again, very polarizing topic, and especially in this situation, I do not envy the developers that have to make this choice because it's going to make people mad one way or the other. There's no winning here in this, but that's something that they mentioned it at least, so keep an eye out for that. Again, probably as of next week. The next thing I want to talk about, though, is that of, well, rank increases and potentially if it will happen. Right now, it's rumored that we won't see a rank increase until weekend 2 of the beta, so that players don't have so much of a differentiation between rank 1 and having absolutely nothing unlocked, and those players that have been playing on PlayStation 4 all weekend, because that's when we'll see the crossplay come into effect, where you can see more and more players playing together. So the rumor right now is that it's not going to be increased until as of next weekend and weekend 2 of the beta. But it's quite possible I'm just misinterpreting this here, but in the original thread here with all this discussion, they end up talking about the level cap in a sort of way that's addressing a current bug right now, but they said right now the level cap is set to 10. Some players are seeing that their level cap display 11 or higher. This is a visual bug and will be fixed out in weekend 2. Now, that to me is either an indication that the bug itself will be fixed out where it happens again later on, or it also means that we won't actually see that level cap set to anything past 10, and that 11 display will be fixed out in weekend 2. To which that would then fall in line with that original rumor that we won't see the increase happen until later next week, but I don't know. I'm really curious to see how this works out. I would personally love to see an increase, at least in some capacity, maybe to rank 15 as that middle ground between what was rumored to be previously planned with something that may give some fans some more to play with as of tomorrow's, say, open beta update. But anyways, that's where we're at here with this, and that's everything that we got introduced today, and also some of the discussion that happened on the more so official end with the community. So that's where we're gonna wrap it up. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Is there anything in particular that you feel strongly about? Probably that of the minimap discussion. That's probably gonna be the most relevant thing here for this. How do you feel about the minimap? Do you love that it's gone? Do you hate that it's gone? Do you think that it's something that completely alters the playstyle and should be something that's considered? Do you think that we should get a rank increase so we can play around with more weapons? Whatever your thoughts you may have, let me know them down there in the comment section down below. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Modern Warfare all throughout this beta. And of course, weekend 1, weekend 2, and up until launch, we'll be killing with the content here. So if you guys want to stay up to date with any of that, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected from outside of YouTube. Practically on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. Well, let's end out of the way. Thank you guys all so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.